I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the head coach for JobSearchCoachingHQ.com. I was asked, how do hiring managers and recruiters engage passive candidates? You know, people who are already employed and not actively looking for a job. So, what troubles me is the use of the term passive candidates, because it suggests to me that this is either coming from an employer or a recruiter, because people don't use that term, passive candidates. They think of themselves as being employed and uninterested. But passive candidates is one of those terms that the recruiting industry adopted some time ago to suggest that everyone can be looking for a job if only the right magic words and the right things were said to them. Everyone would be interested. And that isn't true. But let me kind of walk through, what usually happens. And that is, usually firms reach out through LinkedIn. And they go into their job board and they look for old resumes, or they get into their applicant tracking system and they look at old applications. And those are pretty standard ways that people do it. But they also, and this is where recruiting comes in handy, they ask for referrals. And referrals, number one, start with a relationship with an individual who might know someone who, fill in the blank, who has a particular background, has a particular skill set that you're willing to refer to that recruiter, whether corporate or third party. And more often than not, firms are using LinkedIn, they're using their ATS to mine old resumes, and they're asking for recommendations of those people in the old resume category because, let me just use the old resume scenario. That person's work has probably changed since the system recorded that resume. They're not doing that work anymore. But the question is, do they know someone from their previous employment who is at that level who they might recommend? For you as a job hunter, the idea is do not rebuff people. If anything, respond briefly and courteously to them. Now, if you're getting bombarded at your office, just simply say, send me an email with the information. And I say bombarded like it's happening all day long, all the time. I'm not talking about once a week. That's not bombarded. If it's happening a couple of times a day or a couple of times every other day, that's too much. You obviously have a marketable skill set, and firms want to find out if you might be interested. Just simply say to them, not a good time. Don't want to talk quite yet. Send me an email with the information. I promise I'll look at it and circle back to you. And then do that. Don't not respond. Because after all, what this person was trying to do was find out if you might be interested in a new position that would benefit you. That's not a terrible thing. LinkedIn messages. Oh, how terrible. Do the same thing. Send me more. Don't use the templated responses. Now, from an employer standpoint, if this was an employer asking me that question, I would say I've talked about a couple of different ways that you can do it, but with the applicant tracking system, with LinkedIn, yada, yada, yada. But the thing I really want to encourage you to do is use social media to do brand building and to publicize things that you do that would be attractive to the market that you want to attract people from. So it could be great work, stuff that your company is doing. Create regular campaigns and share it. Think of your corporate brand as being like a soda, and how the soda companies create brands for themselves. You're just another brand. You may not think of yourself that way, but you always have to be out promoting your firm, the great stuff that happens, the happy employees that you have, and sharing that regularly on your Facebook page, on your LinkedIn page, everywhere that you can in social media, is engage with your audience. Like the job hunters who don't respond, you guys have to be engaged with your audience as well. So there are lots of different ways to attract it. If you're trying to hire right now, obviously the more activist things that will yield an immediate response are the things to do versus brand building. But brand building is all part of closing. It will help you get more hires over the course of time versus transactional stuff like LinkedIn messages, cold calls, stuff like that. Hope you found this helpful. Again, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, JobSearchCoachingHQ.com. Have a great day.